Okay, and we are live.
Yay.
Hi, my name is Osasa Weka Smith, and I am the founder of the Edmonton Natural Hair Show and the Maritime Natural Hair and Beauty Show. This is our 2021 virtual natural hair show, and this is the second day of the event and the last session of the event. So together with these ladies on this panel, we're going to wrap up the show. But before we dive in, I just would like to take this opportunity to give a big thank you to the Alberta Public Interest Research Group for sponsoring the event and allowing us to have these conversations and bring out this information and content for the general public to enjoy and learn from. So how this is going to work is this is a panel session from with these ladies from across Canada. They're going to introduce themselves, and we're going to dive right into the discussion and share all things natural hair. Awesome. Who would like to go first? Introduce yourself, ladies. Go ahead.
I can. Hey, everyone.
In what city you're representing, of course.
Of course. I am representing Calgary, Alberta. My name is Jamila Nix, and I am the founder of Flawless Kinky Curls. And I'm very excited to be on this natural hair panel here, and can't wait to see how it all unfolds. So yeah, that's me.
Who would like to go next?
Okay, I'll go. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Bilha Davis, and I will be representing Regina, Saskatchewan, as that's where I grew up. It's my first time being in this show, and it's been great. And I'm really excited to see how the results are going to be. You know, I'm excited to meet new people and all that stuff. So, yes.
All right, so I will go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Sasha Paul. I'm representing Halifax, Nova Scotia. I grew up in Zimbabwe, so I came here for school, but I'm still representing East Coast. And I'm excited to be here, and thank you for this opportunity.
I guess I'll go next. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Akuya Michelle Amokwatifor, and I am representing Hamilton, Ontario. And I'm excited to be here and just to speak to everyone and learn from everyone. So I'm looking forward to the afternoon.
Hi, my name is Nataizya Doc, and I'm representing British Columbia.
Can't hear you, cannot hear you. Jamila infected you, huh?
I know. But I heard her. I could hear her.
I can hear her too.
Yeah, we can hear her.
Yeah.
I did.
You want to speak again?
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We can. She's good.
Oh, I cannot hear her. You folks can hear her?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we can hear her.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I hope it changes for me, so just give it time.
Okay.
All right. And you're representing which city?
Vancouver.
Vancouver, yes. Awesome. Okay, so let's dive right into it. Natural hair, it's quite a thing. We've all been there, whether we're natural now or not, and whether we were once upon a time. And the first question I would just like to find out is, I think for the most part, like most women have gone through the whole process of relaxing their hair. How old were you when you first relaxed your hair? What was that experience like? Were you kicking and screaming? Were you excited? Were you looking forward to it? Were you begging and pleading with your parents, I want to get it relaxed, so please let me get it relaxed here? What was your experience like?
I guess for me, my first time ever relaxing my hair, I think I was about 16 or 17. Growing up, my mom never allowed us to relax our hair. Our hair was very natural, we did the hop thing. We fried our hair quite a few times, kicking and screaming. But as far as relaxing, I was about 16 or 17. Yeah. And I had to because I was seeing all my friends doing it, right? All my friends were doing it, relaxing their hair. And I'm like, man, I want that hair. I want the straight, silky hair, right? And I had to go and and tell my mom, Mom, I really want to do this to my hair. And she's like, why? And I said, well, because it looks beautiful. You get presented with society's version of beauty, right? So I went and relaxed my hair, and that was the beginning of my hair being very, very damaged and started falling off and thinning out. And I mean, eventually in my adulthood, I ended up kind of regretting it, really.
I was probably.
Sorry, go ahead, Akria.
I was probably around the same age. I remember I was so excited because all I ever wanted was long, flowy hair. And I thought that was the answer. So it was after first year university. And I went to Ghana and they put in the relaxer. And they're like, this relaxer, because my hair is really hard, as they said, was going to make it flowy and just all hang down. And I remember it not being that way. And it was the beginning of a journey of damaged hair and this quest of still trying to relax it, plus do the hot comb through it to get that shiny, flowy hair. It didn't work.
Oh, man.
I think I was almost 12 or 13 when I got my hair relaxed, and my mom didn't want to do it, but I actually put pressure on her to do it because kind of what the other lady said, sorry, I forgot your name, but I saw other people with relaxed hair and it just looked a lot more manageable compared to my own. And I had really long hair from when I was born, but obviously with relaxers and chemicals over time, it changes the texture of your hair. And now I also have these major regrets for why I did it. And obviously, I can't look at my mom and be like, why didn't you stop me? Because I really did put a lot of pressure on her to do it. And I think at that age, you're kind of very young and you don't really understand the consequences of it later on. But the pressure was a real thing for sure.
For me, my mom actually was the one that really wanted us to have our hair relaxed. And so I was actually at a very young age. I'm pretty sure I was probably 6 or 7. We were doing the pink box and that had the tape, just for whatever, just for me, or what was it called? I don't even remember anymore. And so it took us a long time. And I think I had stopped for a bit as a teenager. And then again, I started relaxing it in my early 20s when I had really, really short hair. And then now I'm back to just being natural.
All right. Is it my turn? Hey, okay. So, the first time I got a relaxer, I want to say I was way younger than all of you ladies. I think we started off with Kitty's perm, if you guys remember Kitty's perm. And I want to say I think I was somewhere around 8 or 9 years old when I first got a relaxer in my hair. And the reason why I think I remember this so well is because it was always at home, right? So it was either in our kitchen or one of our aunties were doing it, or one of my older cousins were doing it in their kitchen. And that's just how it started for me, way back when I was a child. So I didn't really have a say as to when or even why I even wanted a relaxer in my hair. At that age, it's just whatever is happening, right? And that was happening. Being in the kitchen, I just remember getting my hair permed, and for me, I feel like, I think, yeah, like as a child, you have a tender head, right? So it's like being in the kitchen, it's easier because once that thing starts burning, you're at the sink, and washing out the permanent stuff. So I think for me, that was, yeah, uh, eight or nine is when I started perming my hair or getting it permed.
Why, for me, I had never put relaxer in my hair until I moved to Canada when I was a teenager. Back home, you go to the markets, the market ladies do your hair, and you put braids in your hair mostly with your own natural hair with braids with extension. My first perm, I think I was like maybe 13 or so. And it was one of the aunties did it as well. And I didn't know anything about natural hair or taking care of my own hair really, because growing up back home, people always took care of it for me and did it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I was living abroad with my dad and two boys, two brothers. So it's like, well, the ladies are not here anymore. You are on your own. Go fetch, go fend for yourself. That was my experience. I don't remember what I thought. I knew that I wanted it because everybody in school, had straight hair. And I also wanted to have straight hair because I guess at that time I had that mindset of wanting to assimilate and look like everybody else. You don't want to be different, right? You want to look like everybody else. It was, I remember compared to now, my hair is full and lush and has texture. I just love how it feels. I remember when I had relaxed hair, it was really thin and fine. Mm-hmm. And I definitely did not get that flow that I thought I would get. It wasn't like smooth hair.
No.
It seemed, it wasn't like hers.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my experience. I would just like to find out, why do you think we all know how harmful chemicals relaxers are for our hair, and now these days, 2021, we have more information and research to back those claims up. Still, there are still women out there. We're still putting relaxers in our hair. Why do you think that is our default mindset, to relax our hair? Why do you think our default thought process is not that, hey, my hair is natural, I'm just going to keep it natural and embrace this? Why do you think we try to confirm and be that other?
I don't know. I think for most people, maybe it's just like laziness, I want easy management of the hair, if that makes sense. Like the combing process. I know, like personally, I know what I go through having to take care of my children's natural hair. It's such a process. It's such a long process, right? And sometimes, I'm not going to lie, I've been tempted to texturize their hair or something, but I kept telling myself, no, Bilha, like you have to stay strong.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, and also the society does not make it any easier. It also depends on your personal preference. Some people prefer to have their natural hair underneath and then wear weaves or wigs. Personally, like I've tried wearing the wigs and the weaves and my scalp just can't take it, right? Hence why I'm constantly cutting my hair, because I love my natural hair when it's short and it's easier to manage, right? So I feel like it depends. It depends on how much time you want to put into, taking care of your natural hair, because truth be told, it does take time and work and effort, right?
I think we've also been socialized into still accepting the fact that even without recognizing the relationship between our hair and any sort of like the effects of colonization, whether it's here or abroad, So I know that when I started my locks, my parents had the concern of how will you be accepted, when you go for job interviews, or how people see you when you present yourself. And I think that a lot of people, because of that, we haven't learned to take care of our hair to begin with, our natural hair. So we have that mixed with the fact that we still worry about, even if it's subconsciously, worrying about being accepted or, being a bit more palatable, maybe to the greater population that we don't even consider it as our default.
That's true.
As a hairstyle. Yeah, I know that for me, when I first started my locks, I would wear my hair in a bun, and I realize it now as time goes on. But I would wear it in a bun because it's easier if everything is just tied back, as opposed to it being, rasta all over the place. But I just felt like going to work would be easier. Now I wear it however I want to, but in those moments, you're thinking, well, what will work? What will be easier to navigate? And I think that's also part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think that we have really been socialized into believing that our hair is tough, it's difficult, it is hard to manage. And when you think of something as being difficult, already your mind is almost defeated. And so the easy way out is to always just like throw a wig on, or to relax it, or just find something to do with it that doesn't involve having it out. And I think that with time, as this natural hair movement begins to, or continues to evolve rather, I think that that narrative is going to change, and people are going to start to see that this is what grows out of our scalps. And there are ways, there's a lot more education and information out there than there was like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, when there wasn't like any YouTube channels which spoke to natural hair. So I feel like just the way that we're evolving as a society is really going to influence how people view their hair, because that has played an important role in whether or not people think that they can manage their hair or not.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry. Yeah, I agree with everyone. With everyone, what you guys were saying about how society, like basically what I'm trying to get at here is, if you're used to a certain way, I feel you just continue with that way. So if whether it's like a default or it's just something you've just always grown up doing, I feel like people will argue, some ladies can argue, well, okay, I've been perming my hair ever since who knows when, and I can manage it. And they can also argue that, well, it's healthy. You know what I mean? Some people will say that, well, I can manage my hair and it's healthy this way. But I feel it all boils down to, like what you guys were saying, it all boils down to education. It's educating yourself about making that transition from having relaxed hair to natural hair, and embracing that, because that too is another thing I feel why some ladies, why people, Black people, they don't know necessarily, or are comfortable with making that transition. So everything just kind of boils down to education, and tapping into the resources that are out there, because there's so many resources that you can tap into. But I feel why it's more of a default thing, it's that the lack of education, and just not, I don't know, just not sometimes too, just not really thinking about whether or not I should go natural is another thing that I think some ladies could argue, that they just never thought about that. They've never been, even though the natural hair movement is, it's constant, it's out there, we're spreading that awareness. Some people are just not on that train. They're just like, well, I've just been maintaining my relaxed hair, and it's healthy, it's growing, but then there is that other factor where I'm not comfortable with embracing my natural hair. So that's another thing too, I feel.
Yeah, at the end of the day, really, I feel it's all about being comfortable in your own skin and in who you are.
Right.
Yes, the education really does play a big part. And even though we have that much like a lot of education, a lot of videos out there, a lot of information out there, a lot of people are still not comfortable, right? The way they're grown and still be wondering, oh my goodness, how do I look? So conscious, so self-conscious about what their hair looks like, or what the other person would would look at their hair or would think about them, right? So I feel like you said, to embrace your natural beauty per se, and that comes with your skin, your hair, your just overall body positivity. And the fact that they're always saying, oh, Black people's hair don't grow. Yes, it does grow. It's all about routine and maintenance. Because some people see something like a Black girl with long hair, and they'll be like, oh my God, is that your hair? So yes, it does.
Exactly. You know what, girl? Yes, girl. If you love your hair, it will grow. You know what I mean? I know for me, I could say that maybe over the last year, I have not, like, I kind of been slacking off with my hair maintenance and such. And I can tell you, if you love your hair, and just with anything, if you give it enough attention, if you give it enough love and the right things, and it will grow, right? So whether your hair is kinky, curly or not, it just matters on the attention that you're giving your hair. So it does grow.
It does.
Does anybody have anything else to add to that? Yeah. I don't know about you folks. I know that no judgments here. This is girl chat. I know that when I first, back in university days, when I first started dating my husband now.
Here we go.
Sorry?
I said, here we go.
Here we go. Let's bring the men into the situation. Listen, you're a girl. Okay, so when me and my husband first started dating back at university 20 years ago, who knows? And I really literally had to have a sit down with him, right? And say, hey, I'm from Nigeria. Women, when we go to bed, we put a scarf on our head, we wrap our head up, make it tight, and keep the style in place. And we're having sleepovers. It's like, okay, dude, when I go to bed, this is what I look like. When I wake up, this is how my hair is going to look. And we really had to have a conversation about natural hair. And now when I think about it, it's the funniest thing to me, because here I was dating a guy, and I'm sitting like, babe, we need to talk, right? Yeah, like we're gonna go, but like we're talking about a house, buying a house together or something, or making a big purchase. That's how serious I felt. Like, this needs to be a serious talk. And then so we did that. I had to sit down with him, like, don't freak out or don't react this way. This is how my hair is. And because as you're dating and getting to know each other, you're having a sleepover, and your hair, like, when I wouldn't relax my hair or wrap it up at night, I wake up, my fur is over here, right? Luckily, he was just like, don't worry about it. I have sisters and I grew up with a mom, I'm used to this. I was like, oh, you guys do that the same, the women in Bermuda do the same thing too? It's like, yeah, that's how we do it. I was like, okay, great, awesome. So that solved my problem. So I didn't have to worry. And now, it's been so many years. He helps me out with my hair. He takes out my braids, helps me take out my braid and grease my scalp and all of that stuff and whatever. But what about you folks? Like, what was did you ever feel like you had to have a conversation about your hair with your spouse in any way, whether it's when you were wearing a weave or wig, or just being a Black woman with any type of hair you had on your head?
Yeah, I think that's just a given. I mean, back then when I was younger too, like, especially when you're trying to be in an interracial relationship and whatnot. I remember this dude I was dating then. he asked me, he said, your braids, are they real or is it horsehair? Like,
Here we go.
I don't know how to answer that, right? And then at one point he was even, why do you put oil on your hair? Or why do you grease your scalp and things like that? Even as much as oil our skin and things like that. He didn't understand it, and that would deal with, trust me, as much as I tried to educate that individual, it was so hard. And that's when I decided that this is not for me. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna go with somebody who understands, when I don't even have to explain. My husband now, I don't have to explain. Like you, Osas, he would sit down, take off my braids, of course, a little bit, but nonetheless, he still takes them off. He helps me oil the scalp and everything. Sometimes he does his daughter's hairs and all that stuff. So it's great. It's great to be in a union where you feel like, okay, you know what? I'm accepted for who I am. I don't have to explain myself so much about who I really see it, and you accept it, right? So
yeah, I would agree too. I think for me,
anybody else wants to add to the comment? Any relationship with hair and the love relationship with hair? Cool. My next question is, I would like to know, when it comes to family, because oftentimes, we get upset that externals are impacting us and judging us on our hair and stuff like that. But has there been a time where you have a family member really, where they say something negative about your hair, and how? Oh, no, sir, I didn't hear you. Do you want to log off and come back again?
I did hear her, actually.
Great.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to log off and try to come back, please? Thank you. She said she was trying to talk. I didn't know she was trying to talk. I couldn't hear it.
I didn't hear her.
I didn't hear her either.
Say something.
Hello?
Yeah.
I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect.
No, say what you move on. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. Sorry, it's okay. Yeah, I think I had a similar experience. I think as a teenager, my husband now, he's Black American, so I didn't feel like we need to have that discussion. It was not a thing we had to do. But back when I was growing up, I did have to have those discussions. Or when I would have short hair, a lot of different men would be like, "Oh, are you going to grow your hair out? Are you going to do this? Why do you have all these?" Like, they'd always have questions, and it was always like to criticize my hair. But in their mind, they already had a style of hair that they wanted for you to look a certain way. And so immediately to me, anytime I would get comments like that, it was just something that I would drop. I was like, I'm not dealing with it. Yeah, it was a lot of times I did have that happen to me a lot.
Can somebody speak on the family dynamic on your natural hair and family members' comments and things like that? Have you, from your friends and your siblings or your loved ones, have you had any comments? Anybody say anything negative about your hair? I know, for example, like for myself, my family hasn't been negative, but I know that I always got a question of, are you going to wear your hair like that? To a wedding, maybe to a wedding, maybe, yeah, I know. He's laughing. Maybe it's to a wedding, maybe it's to a birthday party, maybe it's to a big occasion, right? And it's oftentimes I feel like the black sheep, and I just do what I do and not even listening to whoever is over there trying to tell me to wear my hair however I want to wear my hair. Like, for example, my sister's wedding, when she got married, I was asked to put on, not asked, but everybody had weaves on, and that was like the first and only time I had weaves in my hair. And luckily it only lasted like about like half a day because it was really tight and I had an excuse to take it out. So I took it out. But oftentimes, we get comments or negative input from our own families and friends or siblings. about our hair. What has been your experience? Have you gone through anything like that you can speak to?
For me, it hasn't necessarily been. I mean, a few cousins will make comments of, well, you look really good if you had a straight weave or a straight wig. But I found it more other people who would make comments of, well, you live outside. Why don't you relax your hair, or why do you want to have your hair like that? I think it's also gotten a bit better now that it's a bit longer. So this, I don't know, we associate length with health, with beauty, something, right? So now that it's a bit longer and I can curl it or do something with it, you don't get as many comments and unsolicited opinions. So
I could say, oh, sorry. I could say that for me, when I started my natural hair journey the second time, okay, because I went natural the first time like back in 2008, and it was very short-lived. I was only natural for maybe a good couple years, maybe 2-3 years, and then I had relaxed my hair. And I would say the second time when I went natural, my mom was not accepting of my natural hair at all. But it's funny because when I did, I think it was either the second show in 2016 when I did my natural hair meetup. Then it was only then that she was interested in locking her hair, right? So before it wasn't even like she wasn't really bashing me. I would say like she wasn't bashing me, or I wasn't hearing or I wasn't hearing her say like bad comments or anything like that. But it was just that she just wasn't really, it was, do your thing, but not really embracing it, not accepting it. But now that she is she wears her hair in locks now, I just want to say to anybody who is watching this to not be discouraged if you are starting a natural hair your natural hair journey, whether it be the first time, second time like me or whatnot, to just keep doing you, because at the end of the day, this is your hair, and how you choose to embrace it is entirely up to you. So don't be discouraged whether it's parents or anybody who is not accepting of you, because your hair is a part of your identity. So just ignore it and just keep it moving. And that's exactly what I had to do to push through those shows, because it wasn't the easiest time. And again, it was just I guess how she made me feel without saying words. So but yeah, just to anyone who's watching this, to not be discouraged by people who either bash you or make you feel a certain way for wearing your natural hair.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. When I first went natural, I posted a picture up on my Facebook, and I had a lot of comments coming in from family members. I remember specifically one aunt of mine. She's not even a very close family member, but she commented and she was like, I'm not sure this is the look for you, but we'll love you anyway. And I remember too that when I had initially cut it, and I still was in the TWA stage, teeny weeny afro, every single time people saw me, they would ask me, like, what's next? So what are you doing with your hair now? Are you gonna braid it? Are you gonna put a weave in it? And that kind of bothered me because I was still trying to adjust to the afro myself, and I didn't feel like putting extensions in my hair was going to be reflective of me actually embracing the process. I actually just wanted to have it out and to enjoy it as natural as it was. And then when I did braid it for the first time and went to uni, someone saw me on campus and was like, "Oh, I thought you were natural. I see you reverted back to your white side."
Oh.
there were just like a lot of microaggressions, and it's surprising that like these questions and these comments all came from people like you and me, who also have hair that grows out of their head in this state, but they choose to do other things with it. And that was just my experience. It kind of made it a bit sour for me at the beginning, but the light at the end of the tunnel was that my mom and my sister subsequently decided to stop relaxing their own hair. My mom had been relaxing her hair for 20 plus years. But once she saw me go natural, like a month later, she went natural herself. She did the big chop, and they haven't looked back since. So I felt really good about the fact that, you know, they saw me as an inspiration and they decided to go that path themselves. And we've just been encouraging each other along the way, which has been really nice.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah. It's also like tough with our young children, right? I have all girls. So trying to educate them about loving themselves and who they are, and loving their natural hair, as kinky as it is or curly as it is, you just have to embrace it. I remember my second born. One point, I took out her braid and I just like washed her hair, conditioned it, whatever, and she wanted me to use a flat iron to flatten it to make it silky. She's like, "Mommy, I want silky straight hair." I said, "No, no, your hair is beautiful the way it is." And then the next day when she was going to school, she said, "Mommy, can you like put something like a tail or something on my head?" And I'm thinking, no, you don't need that. Your hair is beautiful the way it is. And her hair, she has length. But I don't know why she was feeling so self-conscious. She's like, "People are going to make fun of me at school." I'm like, nobody's going to make fun of you. And those people who make fun of you, you just have to carry yourself up and just be like, you know what? If you don't like my hair, I like my hair. I love my hair. So just instilling those, I don't know what you want to call them, those positive words in them, so they can always feel like, you know what, I don't have to change who I am. I don't have to change my hair and make it straight just because somebody else says I should, or the society's view of what is beautiful is straight hair and not my hair, right? So it's hard, but it's an ongoing thing that we have to constantly do.
I think for me, I never got comments in terms of being natural, but I got a lot of comments when I had really short hair. It was the expectation of making sure your length is a certain way. So your femininity comes from the length of your hair. And I noticed a lot of like different people or Black women would comment more on that. Like, don't you feel like you're a boy, or don't you feel like this? And so I feel like for me, that was more of the biggest thing.
Yeah,
and
you brought up
cutting your hair. Like cutting my hair, for me, I've grown so comfortable in my own skin. Before, I gotta be honest, I wasn't that comfortable with my natural hair, or even cutting it short. I'm trying to cover it up, one thing or another. But now at this age I'm in, I'm very comfortable with me and my natural hair. Anybody that knows me now, they know like I cut my hair like 3-4 times a year. It grows and I cut it. And the only way I want to make it like different, or make it look different or have fun with it, is by dyeing it. I dye my hair, and then before you know it grows. Sorry guys, my daughter. And then before you know it, I color it, and I cut it again. And the last time I shaved my head, and I remember going to work, and they said, "Oh my goodness, you shaved your head. Wow, you're so strong." And I'm thinking, what is today shaving my head, But I mean, that's what society thinks, right?
I find even wearing our hair natural, people make comments of you being so brave for making that choice, and makes you think like I'm not being brave. I just want my hair how I was born. Your hair is the same way, But I find we get those comments a lot. Yeah.
It's true. And I've seen girls on my Instagram who will say something, or they'll post a story and be like, today I went to get some milk from the store and I actually wore my hair out in an afro for the first time. Um, and that's a milestone for them. So I think that that speaks to the levels of colonization and socialization that we've experienced, where it just is so out of the norm for us to embrace what is growing out of ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's such a great point. That's the level of oppression that we've been under, to see something as wearing your hair the way that it naturally grows out of your scalp as a big celebration to go to a grocery store or to go to church or to go on an airplane, because that's how we've been conditioned, right? To behave and to believe that we're not enough as we are. Yeah, that's a really good point. I want to shift the focus to work. Work. We all work. Have you ever been in a work situation where somebody made a comment about your hair, and how did you deal with that? Nope.
I definitely have. I think being in the workplace, actually, it used to give me a lot of anxiety whenever I would change my hair. So having grown up back in Zim, like it was so normal to go to school and one week you have braids, the next week you have a weave in, the next week is afro, and nobody would ask any questions.
Yes.
But I quickly learned when I moved here that that was not the case. People would make such a big deal of any slight change that I made to my hair, and it actually started getting to me to a point where I would either wear a hat over whatever new style I had just to avoid the attention. Because it's also like, it's one thing to tell me that you like what I did with my hair this week, or to just tell me that I look nice. But then I would find that the comments are so extra and they're so attention seeking, or they draw a lot of attention to me. And I would literally want to crawl underneath the table, because it would be like, oh, did you get a haircut? Or if I added like extensions to my hair, put a wig on, it would be like, oh my gosh, you're braiding your hair. I've never seen it like this. So and so, come see Sasa. And it's just really cringeworthy, all of the comments that people would make. So I've learned to kind of set boundaries and say things like, hey, I'm not comfortable with you making loud comments about my hair, or specifically on the issue of people coming to touch your hair. That's a whole nother story, because I found that like people would get comfortable and want to come and feel like they're just overly intrigued by the texture. And for me, being in the workplace, I wouldn't expect that, just because you think that you're working with adults and this is supposed to be a professional. But there were times where people would just come and reach their hands into my hair. And I think I definitely started communicating through my body language, and that was not okay. And then over time, when I was a bit more confident, like I would literally say, I need you to stop. Because there's never a time when I would go and a white person can ask them to, like, oh my gosh, like, where did you get your hair colored this weekend, and reach out. Invasive. So I think there's a strong need for setting boundaries, especially in the workplace.
Yeah.
I love what you said about setting boundaries, because my experience was that I've had so I was I've had that too, where people will like reach out and I just have to do one of these, like, hey, you know, what are you doing, you know what I mean, like, it's not normal for you to like reach out and touch someone's hair, like, as you said, you know, it is very invasive. I do remember one situation. It happened back in 2018. I was at my workstation there and just doing some stuff, and I felt a slight, like, I felt like someone was touching my hair as they were passing, right? Or not so much as they were passing. It was more like they stood there and was patting my hair ever so slightly so I wouldn't really turn around, but it was one of those subtle things. And I looked and I was like, hey, I was like, she stopped. She had stopped. And I said, hey, girl, like, were you just like patting my hair? Like, what? So it was definitely a conversation after that, because you just don't do things like that. You know what I mean? The reaching out, or you think you could pet my hair, is that what we're doing? Or, you know what I mean? It was the most awkward thing to had happen to me. And you know, we resolved the situation, but people, I don't know, I feel like people are going to always be people. And I love what you said, you need to set those boundaries, and it's not coming you know, being aggressive with it or anything, because you know what, guys, there's just people out there who they I don't want to say like that. Yes, some people are ignorant, but some people just, like, with people saying things like they see you today with braids and then they see you with your natural hair tomorrow, and saying things as if you know, you cut your hair and things like that. Honestly, for me now, I'm just at a place where education is just key. You know, I would, you know, it's just, education is just key. And you know, it's just making light, for me anyways, where I'm at, is making light of the situation. Like, girl, how can I just cut my hair? I had extensions in, you know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
you know, that's what that was. It was extensions, you know. But just coming from a good place, because now I just, you know, I don't see the need to be so aggressive with trying to explain to someone things like that, where I had extensions to yesterday, now I don't. The setting the boundaries though is definitely important when you have people who are just so invasive and they want to reach out and touch your hair as if that's something normal, right? Like, it's not. So I love that. Like, setting boundaries is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
I don't remember, like for me, it happened, and the one reason, depending with the industry you're in, right? When I used to work as a model, right? The reason why I first started relaxing my hair was because of the modeling industry. I remember going with my natural hair, you know, I had grease on my hair and all that stuff, and I had tied it up. And I remember one of the agents saying, well, you know, you have the look and everything, but your hair, you need to do something about that. You need to straighten your hair, you know. So I did go and straighten my hair. I permed my hair, but then my hair started getting damaged. And then afterwards, I just started putting braids. So whenever I'd go to casting shows, it's either you take me with my braids and my natural hair, or you don't, right? So,
Mhm.
like you said, boundaries are very important, you know, because if
Yeah.
you don't set those boundaries, people tend to walk over you, and that's just not okay.
Yeah.
I find that most of the comments that I get where I am tend to be from, well, I think I've, like Sasha had mentioned, and how some of the other ladies had mentioned with regards to boundaries, and my coworkers already know my hair is not something worth discussing. It's not something that I'm going to engage in. Like, oh, your hair grew. Yep. You cut your
Yep.
hair. Yep.
Yep.
You colored it. Yep. Like, that's just it. You know, like, it's not, I don't come and ask you about your hair. I don't come and touch it. So I've made that very clear that that's a no-go zone.
Mhm.
But I find that a lot of the comments come from other Black coworkers especially when I started my lock journey, where they're like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" or making it seem like I'm not being professional. Now that it's of a length where I can do a few other things, I actually have one of the physicians I work with who's on his own journey of natural hair, which I find interesting because I've never seen a man go through it, and seeing how patients or patients' families, like other Black patients or other Black patients' families, how they interact with him and the shock that they have or the comments they make when they see us as a team is quite interesting. You know, where you can still see that there's a lot of education, as mentioned, that needs to be provided.
Right.
And he's decided to freeform. So I noticed even myself catching myself, and I'm like, wow, even my, like, not even my mind, because we all have some level of, you know, a colonized mind or things we think are acceptable. So when he first started locking, I was like, what is he doing? Why is he shaming us like this, you know? But then I stepped back and I realized, I'm like, he's actually making a really powerful statement in just showing up as he is, people making comments. And I even look at the two of us and I'm like, where mine are a bit more kept than his. It seems more acceptable. So now the attention has gone from my short locks to his free form. So yeah, I think no matter where you are, people will have something to say in any population,
Always.
not just white people, you know, like, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, that was, yeah, it's a struggle, I think, in general. And I think for me, I had gotten into a really bad car accident 5 years ago. And so I actually have a big scar across my head. And it took a long time for me to kind of feel comfortable. I'm like, okay, like, let me start showing this with my natural hair and my short hair. And so when people started to see, like, okay, she has short hair now, she's showing it, I feel like that's when people were like trying to ask a lot more questions. But for me, it was kind of associated with like the experience I had. And then on top of that, my hair experience that I'm trying to go through of like loving my hair again and just having to go through this traumatic experience. And it was a really hard thing. So I found that sometimes I would have boundaries, and then sometimes I would just kind of either be harsh or I would explain. So like it was never like I couldn't seem to find a middle, because I felt like I could tell there's some people that were genuine and we could have a conversation around trauma and hair, but then there's some people that were just being too aggressive, and I just wasn't in the state that I wanted to have those conversations. So I think the past 5 years I've been trying to figure out where that balance is of like, do I explain this scar to you, or do I just like you said, like just be like, nope, yes.
It works, girl.
Yeah, it really does work, and you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. It is what it is. Like,
and sometimes you touching my hair or touching our hair makes me uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable. Like, I would never go to the
If I
grocery
shut
store.
you down, you feel uncomfortable.
True.
So
Yeah, this part just reminds, this conversation right now just reminds me of what we were talking about yesterday at a different panel. That education fatigue, where you feel like you're the Black educator educating people about, if your case is natural hair, it's like people want to touch it, they want to feel it, they ask 24 questions. Oh my gosh, yesterday your hair was this long, now you have braids, what happened? And it gets tiring. It has nothing to do with work. But I remember when I first moved to Canada, I was in junior high school, and I would go to school, like, you know, like Sasha said, back home, literally, like every Friday at school, your teachers told you, okay, tell your parents that on Monday next week, the hairstyle for this coming week is this. So you go home with the notice, you tell your parents, they take you to a hairstylist, the hairstylist does the style for you. You go to school on Monday with this new style that they have prescribed, right? And your friends are like, ooh, how did you do your cornrows? Somebody might have 10, somebody might have 20, somebody might have just 2, right? But it's still cornrow, and that's what they said we were doing that week, right? So it's always fun and interesting. So when I moved to Canada and I would change my hair a lot to school, people will ask me like, ooh, what happened? Or how come your hair grew so long? And I would just make up a bunch of stories. Like, yeah, back home in Nigeria, we have this lotion. We put it on our hair before bedtime and then wrap our head. And then when you wake up in the morning, your hair gets really long. And it just comes out like this in braids. Like,
Only that was true.
Oh boy.
And stuff. But the education never stops, and it's sometimes exhausting do you feel tired of feeling like you always have to educate on hair, and I guess maybe to even other Black cultural stuff?
I like it's an ever progressing, talk and education really, because there's always something, right? There's always somebody always comes up with a way to, to straighten natural hair naturally, or to use this product to make your curls even pop even more, something. There's always something. So I feel like for me personally, it's going to be an everyday thing because I have young Black females as daughters, right? I have daughters, so I have to continuously educate them, and this way they can educate their peers, right? Because if they have that knowledge, then they can pass that knowledge onto somebody else, and then at the end of the day, it's up to that person whether they want to keep that knowledge and learn from it, or just be ignorant about it, really.
Yeah, well said. It's very different having daughters, I'm sure, right? Now you have a responsibility as a mom, as you've mentioned before.
100%.
I would like to find out for you ladies, we're all adults now, and just wondering, in your journey from teenage years up until this point, like, what are some trial things you've had to experience, some challenges with your hair, with your natural hair, and how did you deal?
I would say that my biggest challenge with my hair is the shrinkage, because right now it's stretched, and tomorrow when I wake up in the morning, it's probably not going to look like this. It's going to be like half this. And that for me is, I think, the biggest challenge, just because in as much as I love to have my hair out and I want to be able to wear it out on a daily basis, the shrinkage and the fact that it can never stay the same length, and if I step outside and it gets hit by some wind, it becomes hardened. That makes it very hard for me to actually commit to wearing it out every single day. And so, yeah, I'll put it in like flat twists or wear a wig or put it in a protective style. But that can also lead to neglect, because the moment my hair is underneath a protective style, then I don't feel the need to moisturize it as frequently or to spritz it. So I mean, that is one of my biggest challenges. And I hope I'm answering the question in the way that you were directing it there. Sorry.
Girl, hook me up. I'll give you a nice tip. Your hair would never be stiff. And yeah, we can avoid that for sure. Unfortunately, shrinkage is a thing. It's just the way your hair is. It's not it's just your hair in its natural state. So yeah.
Right.
Can't help that, but yeah, definitely. It sounds like it's just you might need hook me up, message me after, then I'll give you some tips on to make sure it's not stiff when you go outside and the wind blows at it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any challenges that you find with your hair, or trialing things?
Well, I find that my hair is very dry, like extra dry. Especially in the winter and in the spring months, and then in the summer month it's semi-dry, but I tend to moisturize a lot. But my hair is the type of hair where if you put a moisture of any kind, after like 45 minutes, an hour, it's like just sucks it in, right? So I had to come up with ways to keep the moisture in, like what type of shampoos I use, like the temperature of the water and all those things, and what type of, like, how I mix up my products and all those things. I even noticed it in my girls' hair. I have 3 girls, and they each have different type of hair, if that makes sense. My first daughter, her hair becomes like a sponge. It's like a sponge. When you look at it, you're like, oh, wow. After you wash it, it's nice and the curls pop and everything. But after it dries, it's like this afro sponge, really. And also and sucks in moisture. So like, and her hair is naturally brown. So she has naturally brown hair. So what I've learned is that those type of hair, those naturally colored hairs, they tend to suck in moisture quite fast. So with her also, I have to come up with ways to help her retain that moisture and keep her hair, moisturized throughout the week, and then grease the hair, like oil her scalp every 2 days, and all those things. So it's a process for sure.
I can say, yeah, I totally agree with the dryness, especially here in Calgary, Alberta, right? Where the climate is just very dry. I find my hair is dry, my scalp gets dry fast, like everything just dries a lot faster. So, one thing that I find that helps me to retain moisture is using the lock method. So I don't know if you guys heard the lock method, where it's like it's LOC. The abbreviation is LOC. So it's you use any type of liquid, mostly water, right? So you spritz your hair with water. So how I do it is I spritz my hair with water. I use like coconut oil. So you use any kind of essential oil, right, to kind of seal it in. Some people do it the other way, where they would do water. So they'll do water, they will use a cream, right? So like a moisturizing cream or leave-in condition that you want to use, right? But any kind of cream, and then seal in all that, the water, the cream, with an essential oil. So I do it that way too sometimes, and it just really helps to retain moisture. So even for this hair right now, so I did this morning because I was just really lazy to twist my hair last night. So I spritzed it with water, and I kind of skipped a method there. I just spritz it with water, and I used moisturizing lotion, and I just sectioned my hair, combed it, and I find like, even with the look of my hair, it looks like, to me, it looks moisturized, but it is moisturized, right? Because the days before I was using that method, today was just kind of like a quick fix, But I find that helps a lot. Using the lock method, if you've heard of it, it really does help, especially if you suffer from dry hair. And like, I find also too with my scalp, oh my gosh, I use the black castor oil. And if I use it today, I need to use it in like the next 2 days or something, because as thick as that thing is, it is going to dry out of my head in about a couple of days, and I have to reapply. So I don't know, the struggle is real, but it's worth it, man. I wouldn't change being natural for anything.
Yeah. For me, it gets, everything is dry. My skin is dry, my nails are dry, my face is dry, my hair is dry. And that's what happens living in Alberta, Canada, Edmonton. Because this part of Canada is really, it's arid, it's really dry. When I lived in East Coast, I went, it's around the water, so your skin is more supple, I like to say. For me, it sounds like for what helps me is keeping my hair hydrated. When I shampoo my hair, that's hydrating my hair. When I condition my hair, that's hydrating my hair. Anything where you're putting water in your hair, that's hydrating it. The trick is, making sure that hydration stays locked in your hair, right?
Right.
And yeah, definitely I can send you some tips and stuff for what I use and stuff. Yeah, does anybody else have any other challenges with their hair? Any kind of wrong turns you've made? For example, for me, I've had my share of big chops. I think my last one was back in 2012 or something like that. Before that, I my biggest mistake on my natural hair journey is two. I have two regrets, but one of them is fat ironing my hair way too much. Ooh. But also doing that before I got into doing it without using heat protector. So my hair got fried severely, that I had to do like the final big chop to get to where I am today. And secondly, sometimes life just gets so busy, especially when I used to play sports and stuff. And in between this and that, I would leave my hair for too long without moisturizing it or hydrating it. And that, also, of course, makes your hair brittle and awful. And I hope that nobody else has to go through that if they're watching this video. Always make sure you moisturize your hair and keep the hydration locked in. And if you're going to flat iron your hair, get the right tools to do it, including using the proper heat, adjusting the heat on the tool you're using, and putting the heat protector on. Before we wrap up, I just have 2 more points I want to touch on. So right now, you're an adult now, and knowing what you know now, if you were to go back to a younger you, a 14-year-old you that was relaxing their hair, or a 12-year-old you that was like, mommy, I want to do my hair, I want to relax my hair. Or at any point back to your younger self, at any point in your younger years where you felt you lacked confidence or something, someplace where you could use a boost, what age would you go back to, and what would you tell yourself to elevate yourself, the younger you?
Okay.
Big exam question. Look at your face.
Well, to be honest, I would probably go back to the first time I relaxed my hair.
Yeah.
I don't think I would do it. I think maybe I did cut my hair a few times because it kept on being damaged and stuff. So I think if I went back, I wouldn't have relaxed it. And I remember being younger and my mom combing my hair. My hair was long, thick, and black, and she used to comb it. And every time we were in those hair sessions where she had to do like 2 braids, like back home, I was in boarding school and we had to do either 2 braids or you shave your head. Those were the only 2 choices. So from me crying and struggling with my mother, she shaved my head off. She got mad and shaved my head off, and I carried it like that for a long time until I was a teenager, and then it grew, and then I was self-conscious, and then I relaxed it. But the relaxer part was definitely one thing that I'd go back and just be like, you know what? This is who you are. This is you. Embrace yourself. That's it.
I agree with you. I think back to when I relaxed my hair, I didn't get the results that I had wanted when I was seeing in Essence magazine, so I
But it's true, you don't get those the flip, the seal,
No.
expecting your head to blow.
And then at home too, they were like, "Oh, your hair, it's like rubber. It's like rubber." So then they're putting more relaxer in, and like flat ironing it and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, had I just stopped when God told me it wasn't going to happen, my hair might be different. I wouldn't have had to go through all of the trying to figure yourself out, or and then I end up finding that I have like certain types of dermatitis, and then you're struggling with other medical conditions because of this. So I would have just stopped while I was ahead. If I could go back.
But I also feel like back then, especially growing up from Africa and whatnot, I feel like if we knew like what type of products to use and to use them properly, maybe our mindset would have been different. I don't know. I remember going to like a salon. They don't use heat protectants. Like these days we use heat protectants if we want to use a hot comb or whatever. You go to a salon, they'll use coconut oil, pure, organic, smelly coconut oil. And they'll use that hot comb, But I feel like maybe if we knew how to use products and how to combine them and better manage our hair, maybe things would have been different.
Yeah.
When you're growing up, your hair is like steel wire, or your hair is like rubber, like It's like, sometimes you just.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. I agree with what you're saying. I wish I hadn't relaxed my hair. The When was it? The second time. So when I went natural, I may have said that I know it was short lived. I may have said something like it was about like a year, 2 years, or something like that. And it was. I think this was back in 2000 and late 2008. I wish that I known what I know now. If I had known what products to use and whatnot, because I can tell you the first time when I decided to go natural, it was really to retain length. And it wasn't so much about embracing my hair. Let me tell you, I think it was, I honestly feel that the first time I went natural, I was natural for about maybe a year and a half, let's say. And within that time, I was just wearing a lot of protective hairstyles. So if I had known, like, because in between protective hairstyles, my hair was just up in a bun. Like, I didn't know anything about natural hair and how to style it, how to retain moisture, like nothing at all. So I kind of wish that I hadn't permed my hair, and I was just more educated on how to maintain and style my hair, because what came after that, my gosh, I used to color my hair a lot and put in little extensions and, give my hair some length and stuff. And what ended up happening with coloring my hair so often and perming it as well, I had a little bald spot at the back of my head, and it was very embarrassing because someone pointed it out to me. I didn't even know, and so my hair was freaking damaged. Yeah, it was so bad. Like, my hair was so damaged, and I was just like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? And so back in 2012 is when I started again, unconsciously. Actually, a lot of things was going on back then, and I just said, I didn't even say anything. It was just unconsciously done, where I didn't see the need to put any more relaxer in my hair. But I wish I hadn't done it, back then when I did, back in 2008 or so.
It's funny you mentioned bald spots because I also had that experience where when I was still relaxing my hair all the way through to university, I kind of just woke up one day and I realized that I was missing a patch of my hair just right here in the back. And I remember the day or the night before that, I had gone to dinner with my friends and I had my hair up in a high bun. So when I woke up the next morning and I didn't have any hair in this section, I was so confused because for me, I was like, well, wouldn't my friends have told me if they noticed that my hair missing?
Exactly.
Because it was like baby skin. It was this smooth. Like, there was absolutely no evidence that there was ever hair in that section. And I couldn't find any hair on my pillow. Like, I searched hard and I couldn't find it. So I think that was a sign for me that, like, I really had to stop, because also coming to university and not really having a hairdresser here, I was doing it on my own. And yeah, it was like impressive to other people that I could relax my own hair, but at the same time, it was just getting more and more damaged. So much like everyone else here, I would go back to my 13, 14-year-old self and tell her to stop immediately because the pain just isn't worth it. The burning sensation, the itching, the multiple different textures on your hair when the new growth is coming out. I would just say, baby girl, leave that alone and let what is supposed to be. Like, you don't need any hair straighteners, you don't need any hair relaxers. You just need to let what is growing out of your scalp grow and embrace that and be happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well said. Well said. We're going to wrap up. We've been on here for some time now, and we're going to wrap it up. Does anybody have any last words? I'm going to go into the comments, and there's nothing. One person was asking, oh, why would they touch your hair? Jamila, this was for you. Why was your mom against your natural hair? Was there a specific reason? That was some time ago.
Yeah.
If you want to touch.
Sure. I wish I knew what the reason was, but I really do not know what the reason was. I feel maybe, you know, because I had just came, let me see, at that time, I came to Calgary from Toronto. I'm born and raised in Toronto, and I came up here in 2013, and from 2013, and I went natural in 2012. So from 2013 to the time I started my natural hair show, you know, I was just trying to I was just really just trying to embrace my hair. At that time, I was really tapping into resources and things like that. And for her, I feel maybe like I don't know, right? I'm just gonna make an assumption here because there really was no real explanation for why she was against it. Not that I know of, but maybe when I came here at Calgary at the time, maybe she felt it wasn't accepting, or maybe she just didn't like the natural hair look on me, and maybe I'm gonna go with that. Maybe it was just that she just didn't like the natural hair for me, and it was like, you know, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Granted, my mom was a hairstylist. Now she must have had to deal with natural hair back in her hairstyling days. So I really do not know. It was a very hard time, I gotta tell you. It was very difficult, but even when I you know, I started the natural hair meetup for just wanting to get people together, to just like this platform, just like what OSAS is doing, you know, getting people together to share their stories, because I can't be the only one out here in Calgary who doesn't feel as though, you know, they're supported, because at the time I just really wasn't getting that support. And maybe too, there's a lot of reasons why I had started the meetup, you know, because of wanting to get that support from the natural hair community. And again, just having everyone together and sharing and networking and all that good stuff. But to answer your question, to be honest, I really don't know where that negativity had come from. But I can't give you like an honest answer other than that, because she just wasn't accepting of it. Later on, she did become I won't say that she became accepting of it. Maybe she just went on to lock her hair, and now she wears locks, you know. And so, you know, maybe I just really don't even know. I'm a loss for words about why it, you know, where it stemmed from. But negativity it was at that time. I've passed it though. I've gotten past it. But it was just one of those things that it was just never really resolved. So it just happened. It was just one of those things that happened, and I just had to push through it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing about that. And it's okay that you don't have all the answers. That's not the point, right? So
I don't know.
We've been at this for about an hour and a half now, and I don't want to take any more of your time. I just wanted to wrap it up and say thank you all for making the time, carving the time out in your space today, in your schedule, to come and be a part of this. You didn't have to. I hope somebody who's watching this, reading this, listening to this gets something meaningful out of it. Does anybody want to say any last word, and then we'll conclude. But yeah, this wraps up the 2021 virtual natural hair show. And I would just like to say thank you for being a part of it.
And thank you, OSAS. This was awesome. I love this.
Thank you,
Thank you, Atal.
Sas, for having us.
Yes, it was a great
Yeah,
opportunity.
it's been
Indeed.
Thank you, ladies. I'll connect with you later and send you some recipes for your hairs to have it soft and not
Please and thank
sticky
you.
and stiff. Nice weekend, everybody.
All right.